The Deepwoken devs have broken the game once more. Who's surprised? No, really. Anyway, today I want to talk about the second craziest, most game-breaking update they've ever made, only behind the Great Sharko rumbling of, I believe, 12.17, in the form of the console compatibility update. Before we get into it, I have breaking news though. I asked Reaconteur how Celtor, you know, the race was pronounced, and I remember making a lore video, and I had tons of morons in the comments telling me it was pronounced Keltor, which never made any sense grammatically because it's a Greek word, and according to Reaconteur, it is in fact Celtor with an S sound. Oh my god, would you guys look at that? God! Some of you guys need to stop correcting me, because I knew it. I'm literally omniscient. I looked into the future to see that it was Celtor before I even saw it, alright? That also means that the wiki is wrong. Some wiki editor with a stupid bias for the word Keltor put in the wiki that the word in the race, Celtor, is pronounced Keltor with a K. It's not, so someone's gotta go in and fix the wiki, because they're wrong. Anyway, jokes aside, I'm also live on Twitch ranking every state in the USA on a tier list from S to F, so go watch me over there, that's gonna be fun, and there will be a video on the live channel for that on Saturday. Thank you to all my YouTube members, and now let's get straight into it. Alright, so for those of you wondering what this game-breaking update is, it is the console compatibility update, more specifically the lock-on side of things, which doesn't seem to have been tested in the slightest. Shocker for many of you, I know. The Deepwoken testers aren't testing things? Crazy, I know, right? Anyway, as many of you may know, auto lock-on is completely broken. It locks onto people with no fall-off through range, walls, invisibility, or even dimensions and areas within space. If you lock onto something, you will continue to stay locked onto them completely through walls and at infinite ranges with no lock-on strength reduction at larger ranges, which means you're always 100% accurate with range stuff and can click people with stuff like Spark Swap, which I've actually seen click people through walls for some reason. I'm not sure if that's a consistent bug or what, but I've seen a clip where a guy got hit through the wall with Spark Swap by using auto lock-on. Along with that, of course, it can be used to track people, right? So people who escape from you, it just works through walls and even tacit. So invisible players can be tracked through walls or just for being invisible, making lock-on just about the strongest thing ever. And it also works on Ghost, but I mean, that's implied, right? It works on tacit, of course it would work on Ghost. Now, for all of you PC and keyboard and mouse players, don't worry. If you play on PC, you can abuse the new lock-on too. All you gotta do is plug in a controller, activate the lock-on, and then you get to unplug your controller and keep the benefits of the lock-on while still using your keyboard and mouse. The extended benefits of lock-on include, but are not limited to, free turnaround back hits, which you can land by just running through people and spamming mantras, tracking invisible players, tracking players through walls, perfectly aiming projectiles and ranged mantras, countering back hits because people can't get behind you, countering mantras that aren't 360-degree blockable because people are always in front of you, and much more. As for the downsides, it does have a few negative bugs. It may refuse to unlock from players, NPCs, and even dummies regardless of positioning and range. If you kill someone in Arisia, your camera might just flick around and lock onto them in Etris, and you're unable to look away from them. Also, if you're locked onto a guild base dummy, you might get stuck on it, and when you leave the guild base, you will be stuck locked onto the dummy all the way in your guild base, wherever in the map that is. And for some reason, even though independent servers for just console controller players and just keyboard players exist, lock-on isn't locked to these servers. So you can play with keyboard and mouse lock-on keyboard and mouse and now have an inherent advantage over other keyboard and mouse players. Great design. Now, obviously this is problematic, right? Lock-on systems for console players in Roblox games have always been terribly designed most of the time because by nature it means console players have an inherent advantage in any non-team fight scenario. And depending on the lock-on system, it may not even matter if the developers implemented stuff like quick switching the lock-on to different targets and people, so it really doesn't matter for most games, honestly. Examples of lock-on systems dominating Roblox games because of console players include Jujutsu Shenanigans, ABA, and now Deepwoken because of the new console lock-on, right? However, unlike Deepwoken, the other two games' lock-on systems are not fundamentally broken. Deepwoken finally adding better console support is a good thing. It's a step in the right direction. It'll increase the player base since the game now properly is accessible for console players without being forced onto Silent Heart, and it means we might even get a wave of new players coming in. But the problem here is clearly just a testing issue, because if they tested the console lock for even 5 real minutes, they could have found most of these issues super easily. Like really, you expect me to believe it was tested when you guys didn't even have anyone use it and walk behind a wall to realize, oh wait, you can literally track people through walls and there's no like fall off range. This isn't even an excusable like mistake because most of the issues are so surface level, it just comes across as lazy. And for those of you wondering, no, Roblox Studio is actually not a valid place to test new stuff and updates, because when scripts get exported from Roblox Studio and pushed into a game, even if the developers tested it in Roblox Studio, sometimes scripts behave differently after getting pushed into the actual public game. It's a very common issue, which is actually why testers exist. And given how long it's been since we got an update that wasn't the deep healing fixes, I think it's a bit inexcusable to just go on without testing anything, which they clearly didn't before they released this. Now, I'm sure it'll be fixed pretty quickly though. I am in fact the ambassador for all controller players, so all of you should be thanking me immensely, because if I didn't make that video or two on it, I really don't think the developers would have given controller support any better updates in recent time, because the developers really do have a community suggestion blindness, and they always kind of just have. It's not necessarily Agamatsu's fault either. I know it's a meme, like, blame Agamatsu for everything bad, and you know, most of the devs, to my knowledge, just kind of work on things independently, and they'll push it all in one big update without really communicating too much. They even do this with big updates, like Bloodrun and Iron Sing both got added pretty spontaneously, and they were both made by a single developer working on them at a time. And usually, another thing that I know is that developers who push updates or make content systems, usually other devs won't fuck with their shit. Like, certain things don't have lore, like Linkstrider, for example, because the person who worked on Linkstrider or made Linkstrider was kicked from the dev team. That's actually why Linkstrider still doesn't have lore, because the devs don't like touching each other's stuff, because it's just more work for them, right? And now this update was most likely done in the similar way, like a single dev worked on it because they finally heard the complaints, and then it came out as fast as possible to appease all the console players, and because of that, it likely wasn't tested too much. And I mean, this really just comes back to Deepwoken's #1 problem for the last few years. This game just doesn't get nearly enough testing. They have about a week per update, and while they're making features, they should be pushing them to the test place and asking testers to test things, right? Like, actually, a vast majority of this game's problems have come from a lack of testing. Bugs in Vow of Iron, broken weapons with 300 damage crits releasing on Halloween Day, new mechanics and overhauls. Look, while yes, the Deepwoken developers are actually undercredited, and I think get too much hate in comparison to most developers, especially because they get like the same amount of hate as most developers despite being better, right? They're undercredited for how quick and consistently they can update the game and how quick they actually fix issues. And I know over time these issues will be fixed, but the problem is they consistently use the player base as basically their real pool of testers. Meanwhile, the extra testers don't really balance things at all from what we've seen before they're properly released. So while major content additions usually get gameplay tested enough to where additions like Layer 2 don't have major bugs with the exceptions of Vow of Iron and just some really weird bugs, the smaller updates like weapons and the mechanics additions, they don't really get tested nearly enough, because I mean, less testers would care about them, and they're also less accessible to testers because, you know, not every tester's playing on console, not every tester has a controller, right? The smaller updates like that stuff should have more testers. Like, they should hire more testers within certain pools, like console players and stuff like that. I'm sure that a majority of testers hop on for large updates and really just play the game in the testing place more than actually looking for major bugs, but the problem is playing the game just to play it rather than to push it to its limit isn't a very great way to test the game, because when you have 50 people playing the game to test it versus 4,000 people minimum, lots of which are purposely finding bugs, you're never going to patch them all out in testing. And yes, there are normal ass players who just hunt for bugs in game. I know a guy, so if you guys don't know about this, there's a system where if you find game breaking bugs, like actual game breaking bugs, you can open a bug report ticket, and then you could like describe the bug but don't show the proof for it yet, and then ask to speak with the developer because you want to make a deal, and they'll give you like certain things like free restores and stuff like that. They'll give you gifts for bringing them game breaking bugs if you do it like that. Just make sure to ask for a dev, because if you don't ask for a dev, they're just going to take it, report it, and then you're not going to get it. Now, with that being said, I know a guy and he's found he's done 8 trades over game-breaking bugs. Why is he not a tester? He's found more major bugs on update releases than anyone I have ever seen. I feel like that level of bug hunting should earn a tester spot or something. They'd be like, okay, you're finding all these bugs, you can be a tester for the game, you just can't leak anything, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, as usual, it comes down to testing. If you guys want to add on to anything in the comments, feel free, I read them all, and of course, new YouTube members song cover next week or so, but yeah, I mean, the main problem is literally just testing stuff. But, so yeah, shoutouts to YouTube members of tier 2 or higher: Green, Philip, Delusional Mo, Barack Lee, Akio Sugikuni, Burger, IXKMB, Highcard, Fun Guns, Burger again, Goobka, and Drizzy Drake Fan. Check me out on Twitch and on the live channel where I upload once a week on Saturdays at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Usually, sometimes I get late uploads on Sunday, but watch the live channel. Those videos are more fun to make, and I think they're more fun to watch as well. Hope you all have an amazing day, and goodbye.